Hey, what is up, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by the incredible sponsors of the program, ChemicalFreeBody.com. If health and wellness is a priority for you, then check out the incredible products over at Chemical Free Body. Plant-based nutritional supplements from Super Greens, my favorite, with all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients and micronutrients in just one single scoop. Toss it in your glass of water, your shake, your smoothie, however you want to do it. They also have other incredible products, gut detoxers, anti-inflammatories, immune boosters, and so much more. ChemicalFreeBody.com, and check out that promo code ItsMe, all one word, ItsMe, for discounts at your checkout. And look, we have so many different insurance policies in our life, and if the last couple years has taught you anything, it taught me that storable food needs to be on that list. Prepare with ItsMe.com, the incredible products over at My Patriot Supply. They have 4-week supply of food, 3-month supply, all products with up to a 25-year shelf life. Have the peace of mind, ladies and gentlemen, of having storable food and have that supply on deck. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And if you have, shaving needs like nice chrome domes like me, SkullShaver.com is a whole new concept in face and head shaving. The products offered over there include men's head shavers, face shavers, hair clippers, and trimmers. And ladies, we haven't forgot about you with the butterfly kiss. And we also have a large selection of accessories to make your life that much more simple. All of the shavers come with removable, washable blades made of premium Japanese stainless steel to ensure flawless results. It just makes it so much easier. You can get your shaving done anytime, anywhere, in or out of the shower. It gets no better. SkullShaver.com /discount/ItsMe. All of the links to these incredible products will be in the description of this episode. So without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Speak of the devil, boy, not only is this episode brought to you by Chemical Free Body, we now have the pleasure, the honor to speak to the El Jefe over there at Chemical Free Body, and he is also the host of a podcast, Changing People's Lives, the Health Hero Show. He is Tim James. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, just hanging out, working on my, doing my habits, my spiritual practice. I just you caught me off guard. I was thinking about something else, and I was like, oh, what am I doing today? Well, just, being me, trying to be a healthier version of myself every day, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and then, and share that with other people so they can follow along if they want. Well,
and that's always cool, man. I mean, it was a blessing to have met you. I mean, you really, you're a health alchemist, if you will, man, because, you're transforming human beings' lives. I mean, I remember when I first met you and you talked about your friend, surviving cancer, and and you're obviously a health coach, and you literally are transforming people's lives, and not a lot of people can say that, man. And it's something that, a lot of it, I think, starts with a lot of choices, like you said, our habits, especially as it relates to our health. So again, it's always great to talk to you, catch up with you, and just kind of see what you've been up to, man. I know your show's growing, and like before we hit record here, you just mentioned that you are actually moving. You're up in the upper Northwest right now. What's the plan, my friend?
Well, I'm going to be moving back home to my hometown in Eastern Oregon. My mom and dad have a farm, and, years ago, my dad, long time, decades ago, he said, we were having a conversation. He's like, I'm never going to go into one of those nursing homes. I'm going to die right here on the farm, period. And it's just kind of old school redneck way of looking at things. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Who would want to go into a freaking nursing home? Like, nobody really wants to go into one of those places.
No, you don't.
And I mean, I worked in one when I was in summertime job. It was a summertime job, and I was a waiter. And on the weekends, I worked at Fairlawn's Good Samaritan retirement home. And I remember in there, like, I was a secretary, and was paying like $8 an hour. So I was like, wow, that's a lot of cash. I was like, that was big bucks back then.
We going to Sizzler.
Because I think minimum wage was like $5 or $6 or something at the time. I don't know. It wasn't that much. So I was all excited. And this guy, Gunther, kind of ran the place. He was a cool dude. He was always in the back. And these old folks that have bands on their arms. And what would happen is if they got close to the door from the inside, then the band would send a signal to the door, and then it would lock the door. Then they try to push on the door and get out, so they couldn't get out. And then they walk away from the door, and the door opens back up. So that way, people could come and go as they wanted, as long as one of the residents wasn't too close to the door. So what would happen, it was really sad, man. I worked there all summer. Very few people came in to see their relatives. It was rare what people would come see. Oh, a son would drop by, a daughter, a granddaughter, whatever. Very few families would show up. I don't know if that was an isolated incident, but just not a lot of people showed up.
I've kind of always heard that, man. And unfortunately, it's a common theme. Like you said, most older folks don't want to be put into one of those things for a myriad of reasons. But oftentimes when it does happen, it's almost like, not literally, but they're almost like they're put out to, just out to pasture, just because family members they just ghost them, out of sight, out of mind. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's more common than I think people realize.
Yeah. Well, and like other indigenous cultures and stuff like that, and even in third world countries, a lot of times the family units are very cohesive. They stick together, and elders are revered and respected. They're there. They tell stories. They educate. They're good for the kids. The families all take care of each other, and we get away from that. And a lot of it's the degradation of our social, our moral fabric, but also our physical health. Because what has happened is these older folks, they've had just more time to bioaccumulate all these toxins on a cellular level. They've had more time to, be lacking nutrition. So there's a breakdown cellularly from not having the building components from Mother Earth. And then on top of it, there's this, different stresses besides the work and life stress. There's, EMFs and Wi-Fi stress and, just another type of pollution, basically.
EMF? EMF. ELF, the extreme low frequency, or what's EMF?
Yeah, EMFs and ELFs, basically any type of a rogue frequency. So ELFs are what's like going through your electrical walls.
Right.
And you plug in a blender, and ELFs, or electric low frequencies, are actually coming through that cord, and you're actually getting zapped a little bit. So your TV, pretty much everything has ELFs. Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So EMFs are electric and magnetic fields. Right? So there's different frequencies, like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. In fact, 5G is actually just right below the frequency of military-grade weaponry. So let that sink in for a moment, right? So anyway, we have all this stuff going on, and carpets in the house. Carpets are off-gassing formaldehyde. There's genetically modified foods that have disrupted the internal metabolism of the plant, so the plant's no longer producing glutathione, and the plant starts producing formaldehyde. So when you're eating genetically modified foods and you're breathing carpet air in your home, you're kind of slowly embalming yourself. And we're seeing now that, like,
wow.
A lot of these, it's kind of crazy, man, but like a lot of the morticians will tell you that some of the older folks, they're kind of already embalmed when they get there, right? So they don't really have to.
Well, in between, they're not just eating Twinkies or whatever, but there's so many preservatives in our food. But something I found so, very fascinating in some of our first conversations, and this is almost why, cleansing and a lot of these different health choices are so important. We are born toxic. Talk to us a little bit about the amount of toxins, hundreds, if you will, about the toxins in our umbilical cord when we're born.
Well, about 9 years ago or so, I typed in these 3 little words, which I would implore everybody to do after you're listening to the show, which is umbilical cord chemical. It's like, I looked it up, man, and I'm like freaked out. I was like, because what they did was these researchers and scientists and doctors, they took the blood from the umbilical cord of young mothers and babies, supposedly the healthiest of all of us. They looked at it. They looked for 400 toxic chemicals, and they found 71% or 250 of what they're looking for. So that's about, and then, so it was like 250. So 180 of those 250 cause cancer in humans. 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. I mean, it's in freaking kids, the babies. It's in the fetus. It's in the young mother. And that's when I sat back and I was like, holy crap, we're all polluted. Like all of us. And the older we are, the more time we've had to bioaccumulate these toxins from the air we breathe. We take 20,000 breaths a day, from the water we drink, from the food we eat, the cosmetics, the shampoos, the toothpaste, the air fresheners, the paint off-gassing in the house, the formaldehydes, the jet fuel, the automobile exhaust, the rubber compounds coming off of tires, on and on and on and on. you can't see it, Jeffrey, and that's the problem.
Yeah, out of
These
sight, out of
things are
mind.
so microscopic. It's like, oh, doesn't exist. It does.
Well, since our environment is so chocked full of it, there's no escaping being exposed to it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I think it's so important. I've been trying to do every 3 to 4 months. This is basic. The term cleanse is different for everybody, but I try to just shut it down. A lot of water, a lot of your products. I mean, it just fresh greens, fresh whole fruits and vegetables, just to flush the body. Because again, there's no God. I mean, just hearing what you said, the list of shit coming from your carpet, we're inundated with it, and we don't even know it, like you said, because it's out of sight, out of mind.
I mean, they're even spraying your television sets with fire retardants that are toxic.
Spraying our television sets.
Yeah, when you buy a new TV, it's been sprayed down with fire retardant.
Wow. And I can only imagine as it heats up, as it's being used, it releases some of that.
Oh, it's you touching it, it gets on. It's just everywhere. So the bottom line is we're all freaking polluted. All right, it's what it is. I don't care where you're at. It's some level you're getting it, and you can't. Oh, I live up in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Nope, you're not going to get away from it there either. There's a thing called wind, and there's air, and
wow.
The rain. Like 74% or 76% of rain now there's so much glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup, which is an herbicide.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, think about it. In rainwater, it's like 76%. That's a hormone disruptor. It's an herbicide. Plastics. Microplastics are pervasive in all water, so much so that the fish are turning into hermaphrodites, small little fish.
They're making the frogs gay, like Alex Jones said.
That's true. It's true. Amphibians and the fish and the tributaries and the rivers and lakes and streams are basically developing both male and female organs. And if you look around humans, lots of guys are getting man boobs. Right?
Gynecomastia. I think
remember Seinfeld? They make fun of it. Like, what's his name? Kramer and George's dad were going to sell the bro or no, it's the man's ear. Yeah. No, it's the bro. Right? And they're making fun of it, but they're like, no, he's got breasts.
Yeah.
And these are all, hormonal deals.
Well, how much? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to put this in perspective. When we're talking about these umbilical cord studies, where they found these 400 chemicals, was in the blood serum. Your muscle tissue and your fat tissue has 500 to 1,000 times the concentrations of what they're finding in the blood of these toxic chemicals. They bioaccumulate, right, in your fat and your muscle tissue. And your brain is fat. Those glial cells are mostly fat. So this shit's getting in our brain. It's getting in our fat cells, and fat around our organs, a cellular level, our muscles. It's everywhere, right?
So how do you, especially as a coach, man, and even just personally, everything you just listed makes it seem, it could easily be like, well, why the fuck would I bother? Like, if I'm being inundated to this level, and this gets
you can stop feeling like shit, and you can, you can start growing, and you can tap into your spiritual practice for the first time ever, or that might not ring true for you. I don't care about that stuff, but there's other people that the spiritual practice is the most important part of their life. It'll help you increase that frequency and that connection with your higher mind, God, he, she, it, the vortex, whatever you want to call it. And people are like, oh, I'm going to die anyway. I'm just going to eat this and eat that. Okay, well, if that's you, then go ahead. Just, you might as well just shut it off right now and not listen to the rest of it. But I just grew up as a working class person on a farm. I knew nothing about health at all. I thought I did. I went along with all of society's conventional stuff, eat the protein for the muscles, drink, and our body only is made about 3% protein. Then you look at the whey protein powders. What else was I doing? Milk for strong bones. Mm. Then you come to find out it does the exact opposite. It actually is very acidic. It leaches calcium out of your bones and weaken your bones, and that's why the countries with the highest amount of dairy consumption, United States, Canada, Ireland, these places, they have the highest incidence of osteoporosis, osteopenia, and hip fracture. It should be the exact opposite.
Well, and I signed on for milk when I heard about mastitis with cow's udders, and you're literally drinking pus, basically. It's really gross.
Yeah, because a cow is supposed to last like 20-some years, but, when you're in a business and you can just keep that cow artificially impregnated 24/7, it only lasts about 4 or 5 years because you're doing something artificial. And then the udder and stuff, the nipples get infected because it's not a natural thing to keep pumping milk out 24/7, and then they have a baby, then they rip the baby away from the mama, then they go sell it as veal, to these places, and the cows are screaming and yelling as the babies are being taken off. And this just happens over and over and over again.
And as you mentioned before, the stress, this whatever the word is, not the endorphins, but like the opposite,
stress hormone,
the stress hormone that goes into the meat, goes into the milk.
Yep, it goes, totally, and you're eating that veal too. So these animals are under a tremendous amount of duress before they're killed, and all those endorphins and stuff are coursing through their brain, and then whatever they've eaten in their lifetime too, whatever they bioaccumulated. That 500 to 1,000 times more in the blood serum stuff in those animals, you're consuming all of that too when you take a bite of them. It's like concentrated.
Well, going back
to
the
whole point is Jeffrey, is like, but people have to understand, it's like awareness is step one.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's step one. And once you have awareness, now you can make a choice. Well, am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? Or, okay, this is kind of resonating with me. I didn't know I had all this crap in my body. What can I do to get it out? And then what can I do to stop putting it in? Well, to stop putting it in is really easy. Instead of buying toothpaste that says harmful if swallowed, please contact the poison control.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just buy a toothpaste that's good, And you have to be careful, because when it goes onto store shelves and they start getting traction, they start growing because people want healthy, good products, they will get bought out by a big corporation, and then they will.
Well, and that's what I noticed
they will bastardize the ingredients, and you will get a shitty product. And what we're experiencing right now is what's called centralization. Major corporations just keep buying up the little guys, and sometimes they'll continue on with their product, or they'll just get rid of them and fill the shelf space up with something else. They got to control that shelf space.
Well, and I think it was Colgate. I used to use Tom's all the time, fluoride-free Tom's toothpaste, which I believe got bought by Colgate. But no, you're so right, man. They've so politicized, the term organic. I mean, even however many years ago, you could still have X amount of stuff in an organic product and it'd still be considered organic. But now, these politicians are trying to widen that gap of the shit they can put in there and still call it organic. So again, if the best you can is hopefully, raise your own food, raise your own, fruits and vegetables. But something you mentioned a minute ago, I mean, the mental side of this, and I know you've read the book, and I know you know who Dr. Bruce Lipton is, The Biology of Belief. It's not necessarily our environment, but it's also our perception of our environment. So, if you're going to just hear things that Tim's saying, and it's like, all these different poisons, just wave the white flag, I guess, like you said, that's your choice. But again, it starts with our mental locking in of our environment and our perception of the environment around us. And then, like you said, start making a lot of healthier choices once our mind's right around it. Because if you just if you have this determinist, defeatist attitude of like, what the fuck, why should I bother? Then, your health will pretty much follow suit with that. Like my man said in Platoon, free your mind and your ass will follow. But again, I think it starts with the mind, of course. And your mental mindset.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why you might be in a situation where you're like, I don't care mode, is just because, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. When I first got into this work, I thought, I'll just show people what to eat and how to detox, and it's going to be easy. But what I found out was there's a lot of emotional crap from childhood.
Yes, man.
There's deaths, there's molestation, not just childhood too, but there could be divorces.
Yeah. There's
some pretty horrible stuff that can happen. Career losses, things that come up, and people don't have the skill sets or energy to know how to deal with them. And so for those people that are like, not wanting to make changes, they have to make that decision that they really want to change. And if they do, we just kind of like baby step them, because a lot of times they think the reason why people don't go work out is because in their mind they would be embarrassed. They don't look the part. Well, the reason you don't look the part is because your lifestyle. That's it.
Yeah.
Or they might think of it like, wow, I have to get up early. I'm going to be in the gym for 2 hours, killing myself, and then the next day I'm going to be sore and I can't move. So when you have all these things and your mind just circle, then you never get started. Where what we teach is like, okay, how about you just walk out to the mailbox and back? Tomorrow you're going to walk to the corner and back. Then the next day you're going to walk around the block. And the next day you're going to walk around 2 blocks and 3 and 4. And maybe a year later you run a 5K.
Baby steps, like you said. But it has to start somewhere. You could use all these different cliches. That 1,000-mile journey begins with that first step. And that's really what it's about. But, and again, it goes back to the mental, when the motivation is gone, you got to have the discipline. because you're not always going to be motivated to get up at 5 a.m. or whatever your new routine is. You're not always going to be motivated to do it.
Yeah, and some people don't want to get up at 5 a.m. They're just not there yet. And maybe 6 months or a year or 2 years now, and then they want to do that. But it's a process to get there. So for us, what I've learned is like meeting people where they're at is of utmost importance, because a lot of people are stuck emotionally and physically and spiritually. So the way to get them unstuck is movement, and movement through baby steps. So, when people are like, "Oh, I want to change. What workout should I do? What should I eat?" I'm like, "Dude, you don't even have, or dudette, you don't even have your foundation in place. So let's work on that." And then we work on just having them drink water, like in purified water. And if you're in cities, restructured water, right? So we work on that. We have them start chewing their food until liquefied. Basic fundamentals they're not doing. We have them avoid liquids with meals. And we have them do some breath work before they eat. Those are our core 4 secrets. We have people do those things. And just by the way, just to save time, I usually go through and explain all those. But people can go to our website now, and if they're hunting around on the website, a little pop-up says, "Hey, you want a free gift?" That's the core 4 secrets manual. So you can get the breakdown of all those 4 core secrets that are foundational to health. And we also put some recipes in there and stuff. And I have a really good gastrointestinal healing recipe in there for this special drink that's in there. So I definitely take advantage of that and get that.
It was something you mentioned I've always found very interesting, the no drinking during meals, because I think most people eat their meal and they pound whatever, a soda, water, beer, whatever it is. That's always been quintessential to my meals, is after I'm done, like washing it down with something. Like you said, you break it down more thoroughly. If you don't mind, just why is that? Why no drinking during meals?
Well, because if you did a good job on chewing your food well, and the reason why we chew our food is because we load our food with enzymes in our mouth. There's enzymes called amylase and lipase. These are going to break down our starches and fats. So actually, most of digestion starts in the mouth.
Yeah.
All the food gets preloaded with these enzymes, goes in the stomach, and then in the stomach, those enzymes continue the process of breaking down the food. That's how it works. So if you drink liquids with your meals, you're diluting those digestive enzymes, and you're going from digestion and assimilation back to fermentation and gut rot. So body's got 2 options. You're either going to digest it, assimilate it, or it's going to ferment it and rot it and push it out of you, because that food's got to get out of you. It can't just set in there. It's 98.6, right? It's going to go bad. So it goes in and goes out. That's it. And that's what's supposed to happen. So that's why we teach people to do that. We to chew their food and then avoid liquids with meals. So a rule of thumb is stop drinking liquids an hour before you eat, wait 2 hours after you're done eating, and then drink a lot of liquids again. Just to give you guys a little inside peek.
Yeah.
The manual. But that's how it works. I've practiced it for a long time, and we already know it works because I've said this a million times. We ship products worldwide, our detox and nutritional supplements, and a lot of people they start practicing the core 4 secrets, and they're telling me, I get emails every day. My energy's better, my gas and bloating's better, my mental clarity's better, I'm sleeping better, I have less mental fog. And they haven't even got the products yet, because with the supply chain delays, it could take 2 weeks to a month to get to Australia or New Zealand or Ireland or something like that. So we know that they work. I've been doing them myself for 11 years, sharing them with over 600 people in a one-on-one setting in my private VIP program. Our coaches share them with their one-on-one clients, and I share it with the group setting in our group coaching community that I lead every Wednesday. And so it freaking works, dude.
Well, yeah, I'm going to put all the contact information. So if you want some one-on-one coaching with Tim, all that information is there. Like you said, he's been doing it for a long time, so it's tried and true. And it's something, our previous conversation that blew my mind, and I've really come to understand it so much better, your gut health, your gut, flora and fauna, and the amount of serotonin. Most people think serotonin is produced all in the brain, that mood stabilizing, make feel good chemical. But there's more serotonin produced in the gut. Talk to us a little bit how important, obviously you have these product gut cleanse and probiotics to cleanse the gut, that the importance of your gut health, brother.
Well, to me, it's pretty freaking important, right? So if you just look at your skin on the outside, I can tell instantly if somebody has good health just by looking at their skin tone. Not necessarily the body composition. That goes along with it, because in nature, you don't see overweight animals. Just doesn't happen. Right? It's
true.
They all know what to eat. They all know they have their movement. They have their patterns. They know what they need to do. And they just instinctively do it. We're the ones that get all confused. And so yeah, gut health is important. I think that the gastrointestinal tract and our organ systems are the driving engine to our health. So to me, knowing that the average person's carrying around on average 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon, and it's not supposed to be there. We've turned our colons into storage tanks rather than they're waste removal systems. Stuff's supposed to just go through. It does its thing and whoops, and it has some chips. It exits the body, right? So, but when you have all that funk and gunk and junk sledged up in your intestinal lining, guess what happens? You create a very low oxygen, high acidic environment, and that becomes a breeding ground for harmful organisms, viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus.
Wow.
And mutagens, cancers love it. I mean, they freaking love it. That's why we have so much colon cancer. So cleaning it, sweeping it, keeping it all clean, cleaning your organ systems, keeping them clean, cleaning up the blood, the fat, the muscle tissue from all those chemicals we talked about. These are the things we do, and we just teach people how to do it. We get their water right. We get their air right. My window's cracked right now. I have a badass freaking air purification system. I have a triple water purification. I mean, you get your air right and you get your water right. Those are two major inputs. And then the next one is sleep, because without sleep, you're dead in about 11 days, same as the water deal. So air, 4 to 7 minutes, you're gone. That's super important. Next is drinking water, because you're dead without that in like 11 days. Sleep, 11 days, you're dead. So those, in my opinion, are the most important. Air, get your water right, get your sleep right. And then food's next, because you can live without food for about 2 months. And then you have food, and then sunshine, and spiritual practice. There's just some basic core things that we have to take care of. And what's cool is, like, once you get your air right, you just breathe it.
Right,
it's passive. Yeah. It's not like you have to even think. It's just like
crack
your window. I mean, I have my windows cracked always, because these energy efficient homes, they call them, they're just chemical coffins because they don't breathe. And then inside, I always tell this story because it's like, let's say you have, we're pregnant. Yay. We're having our first baby. Oh, that's exciting. Went to the ultrasound. We're having a boy. And the woman's like, let's get the room going. And they paint the room blue. And, 3 months later, the baby pops out. And they put that baby in that room. And that baby, for the next 4 years, is going to, because it takes 4.5 years for paint to cure, that paint is going to be off-gassing these estrogen-mimicking chemicals. And that baby's going to breathe it in and pollute itself.
That's so crazy.
And you are too, and in the rest of your house. It's not just in the baby's room. If there's paint in the house and the paint is not non-toxic, then it's toxic. And you can't just go, it has no VOCs in it. I have an episode. I'll have to look this up, but I have an episode where I interviewed the guy who was the original green building consultant. He still does it. He's got a company called thegreendesignCenter.com, Andrew Pace. And he was originally on, that LEED certified green movement, where they're building these LEED certified green buildings downtown and stuff like that, where they put trees and stuff on top. And that whole program is not built on human health. It's built on sustainability. What I mean by that is that they get big credits for taking old tires as an example and grinding those things up that are off-gassing. You smell tires. You walk into a tire shop, you can smell the tires off-gassing, right? So that's polluting you.
Well, they're using those in like playgrounds now too.
Well, what they do, they grind them up and then they'll put them on a floor, put them on the whole floor in a LEED certified building downtown anywhere USA. And then guess what? We have people with chemical sensitivities that they'll walk in there and they got to get out of there, start choking. Like they can't do it. We're all chemical sensitive at some level, just others more than some people. So even though it might not make you choke, you're still breathing that in. It's still attaching to the mucous membrane in the back of your throat, going into your digestive tract, getting into your lungs. And so Andy is he's a cool dude because he actually had to step down and resign from the board of directors on the LEED certified green movement because he said, this isn't green at all. You're hurting people. I mean,
wow.
That's what's actually happened. Let me see if I can find what episode that was. It was I just got to find him. It's a good listen. Jason Payne, here it is. No, that was sorry, it wasn't Jason Payne. I was looking for somebody else. We'll find it.
Yeah, by the end of it, let me know. And
there it is, episode 57.
Okay.
Andrew Pace, toxic-free building materials for home and office. God, that's on my show, The Health Hero Show.
Just can't get away from it.
Just to give people an idea, it's like, there's a lot of everything's polluted pretty much. So it's a lot to take in the beginning, but the awareness is step one, and then step two is just start taking action, doing things that are easy. And usually what we do is we just work on those core 4 secrets, and we just get people on our products, because taking our products, even if they do the full kit, like that total energy and detox bundle, and they take the turmeric or whatever, that takes less than like 5 minutes a day to do the whole program. Like literally, they don't have to think about it. Just drink the greens, take the toxin detox, the gut detox. It's cleaning up the gut, the organs, the blood, the fat, the muscle tissue. They're flooding their body with nutrition, flooding it with probiotics, and then they go about their day. Take some enzymes and probiotics at lunch, drink the greens again, and half an hour before dinner or so. That's it.
And it's one of those things where it seems like it's more daunting than it is, but we've all heard it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If they're coming to you with certain issues, and I'm going to ask you here in a second what a lot of those are, it starts with making just different lifestyle changes. Because otherwise, the whole definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. As a health coach, what do you, and I know it's hundreds, if not more, have you noticed a consistent theme? What are people coming to you with as far as, Tim, help me with XYZ? What is it? What are you noticing?
Well, for me, it was like, just because of my buddy's story. My buddy had chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and he healed himself naturally with no chemo, surgery, or radiation, right in front of my face. It was Charles is the reason why, I went for those who haven't heard this before, I didn't know any of this health stuff at all 11 years ago. My buddy got cancer. He asked me to go with him to the Hippocrates Health Institute, which is like a natural detox and nutrition clinic. It's been around like now 66 years, something like that. And I said, sure, I'll help you out. I thought my friend was going to die because everybody in my life that had cancer had died. My grandma, my aunt, a good friend of my baseball team at age 40 died of stomach cancer. So I thought Charles was toast. And when I went there, I learned all about this detox nutrition stuff. And it was like 40 hours of lectures a week. So it wasn't just like, change your diet type thing. It was like re-education camp on how the human body works, what's going on in society, marketing, how they're getting into your wallet and selling you a bunch of crap that doesn't do anything. And so I walked out of there and I was just like, wow, that really changed my life. So I came home, we started implementing all that stuff. And not only did Charles heal himself, but I'd lost the 42 pounds. I got rid of my acid reflux. I didn't have to take Tums and Roids anymore. I was bleeding rectally. That stopped. The eczema on my left knee and then both of my elbows that was cracking and bleeding all the time, that stopped. I was pooping blood for 2.5 years when I would go number 2. And that's why you guys can't see me, but my shirt says love when you poop, because for me, it was a very painful process for a couple years. So I healed myself. Charles healed himself. And from that process and telling his story, about half of our clients are cancer patients. That's just the people that have resonated and gravitated towards us because of his story. But other than that, man, most people are coming because it's the basic stuff. They just want more energy. They want to get rid of the mental fog. They want to start sleeping better. Probably 60, 70% of the people, at least 60, they're not sleeping well. And if you're not sleeping well, that's a problem. That is a major problem. This is your body. It's like a check body light. If you're not pooping at least once or more, probably twice a day, that's a problem. Okay, that's a freaking problem. So we look at bowel movements, we look at sleep patterns, and we just slowly help people. Basically, we're into you being in your own doctor, you into self-healing, because I can't heal anybody. That's impossible.
Right.
But what I can do is heal myself to the nth degree and try to do everything I can to be healthier. That's what I've been doing for 11 years, man. It's just hacking my health. What else can I do? What else can I do? What, how, and I just keep finding things. I just keep stumbling across stuff. And then I find these new things. I'm like, whoa, how did I not know about this? Like I'm in the field, I'm on the pulse, and I've been at 11 years and I'm just hearing about this. It's because there's so much stuff out there. And a lot of times some of this stuff is just old stuff. It's stuff that's been used for 10,000 years that always works.
What I was going to say, Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine, medicine be thy food. Like, this isn't necessarily a secret. It's just a matter of, like you said, that's cool though. That, like you said, after doing it for so long, you're still learning because there's still so much information out there about, just general health and wellness. And something that I've been hearing a lot about, and I've been doing it inadvertently, not even consciously, because I don't gourd myself. I don't eat that much. Talk to me and talk to us, if you will, the value of intermittent fasting, caloric restriction, if you will, but intermittent fasting, we hear so much about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get scared of the word fasting because they think of, I'm going to be deprived, I'm going to be hungry, and they're freaking out. They have blood sugar issues. Type 2 diabetics think, and they shouldn't actually. A type 2 diabetic shouldn't be doing any fasting and like that. But I'll explain a little further. But it's how we're programmed. In nature, a lot of animals don't eat every day. They got to go find their frickin' food. And you don't always find it. That's how nature works. So, and if you look at how we were nomadic people. We would walk for 2 or 3 days. We wouldn't eat nothing. And then we would find the ancestors of cabbage or spinach in a meadow, and then we'd eat that, or we'd have berries or in the fall or whatever, or maybe we'd dig up some grubs or something, or if we were lucky, we caught a fish. But remember, there wasn't any fishing poles. You go out in nature with your bare hands, it's a little bit harder. Animals don't want to be caught. Okay?
There was no drive-through 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, you gotta hustle. Okay, you gotta hustle to get your food, and so that's why most of what we eat is roots and berries and leaves and stuff like that. So we have been genetically programmed to not eat a whole lot, right? So when you start doing these what's called intermittent fasting, you're just getting back into the cycle of the rhythm of life of how have been doing it and how we're genetically programmed. That's why it works so well. So what happens is like when you stop eating, you allow the body to start cleaning itself up. You allow the digestive tract and the cells to rest, and they start really cleaning, and they start eating up all the dead cells. And this is for those that, if you want to have young, beautiful skin, fasting is unbelievable. If you want to live a long, healthy life, fasting. If you want to get closer to God, what do all religions say? You fast and what? Pray, right? So fasting is, and it's not like it's a scary thing because everybody listening is already fasting. You fast every day. You go to bed at night, and all night you're fasting. All we're talking about is extending it.
Yeah.
Just extending it. So for us, usually what we do is we tell people don't eat until after 11 a.m., nothing heavy. Do juices and get your nutrients in that way, and then have a nice big lunch. Because your hydrochloric acid content's at its peak at around 1:30 in the afternoon. So somewhere between 11 and 2, that's when you'd want to have your big meal, and then have a small meal for dinner.
Which is so weird because what are we taught? Like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And most people, IHOP it up, or, pancakes, eggs and bacon and, right in the first thing in the morning, because supposedly breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right?
Yep. Yeah, and if people want to get into the science behind all that, they can look up The Pleasure Trap. Just watch that. It's a educational video called The Pleasure Trap by Lyle something. Dr. Alan Goldhammer of the True North Clinic, and Lyle, I can't remember his last name, or something Lyle. Totally awesome dude. But yeah, man. So now for those type 2 diabetics, or just diabetics in general, or people that are anorexic or bulimic, okay, we're not going to tell you to not eat, okay? Because there's a lot of emotional stuff going on there with the latter of the two. But the first one's the diabetics. What we teach them to do is to eat breakfast monolithically in the beginning. What I mean by that is you just eat one food. Like you'll have a big green leafy salad for breakfast, or you'll have some cooked quinoa or some cooked teff. These are much better, high quality grains and seeds that, instead of oatmeal, which is just basically sugar in the mouth, or cereal and that kind of crap. So those are, and then after a while, once they've, cleaned up and healed up, then eventually, they won't have their diabetes anymore. And
I mean, luckily, since you say that, it just brings to mind my father, who's 78, and we got high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease in our family. And I mean, luckily, he's on some high blood pressure medicine, but he has eaten oatmeal every day for I don't even know how long. And I'm just like, man, how are you not on diabetes medicine considering our family history? But, knock on wood, it hasn't hit him yet. But, well, I'm going to ask you a few more questions before I let you slide, bro. And again, the Health Hero Show, I mean, this is just scratching the surface of all the stuff Tim gets into, because he is quite the oracle, if you will, of, he's still learning, but I mean, he is a wealth of knowledge. Something we've learned about over the last couple years and give me your thoughts on, the role of vitamin D in overall health. And I would hear about, when people with COVID, like, make sure your vitamin D's up, just generally in overall health, and maybe as it related to COVID. What's the role and the importance of vitamin D in your daily supplemental intake? If you're not being able to get in the sun, et cetera, the role.
Yeah, well, it's a very important topic, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of clinical research showing that vitamin D is a powerhouse. And so for me, this is that whole thing with the whole COVID lockdown shutdown deal, where I was just so upset about this because they're telling you to not go outside, don't look at the sun, quarantine, stay away from everybody. When you look and if vitamin, like, the sun is a disinfectant. It's like it's an antiseptic. Like, you go outside, and if an animal poops on the ground, the sun's hitting it, bugs come in, and it recycles itself. But when you have animals caged up or in a barn or something, and they're poop, it starts breeding E. coli and salmonella. There's no sunshine to disinfect it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a very important, but vitamin D3 is not actually a vitamin. It's actually a freaking very powerful hormone that regulates about 5% of all your processes in your body. So it's pretty important. And if you're looking at virus as an example, it actually is like a marine sniper. It like shoots holes in the virus wall. Like, literally, just like kills it. So if you have dark colored skin and you're listening to this podcast, you need about 5 to 7 and maybe even 15 times more sunshine and vitamin D than somebody with light colored skin. So if you are from African descent, right, or somewhere in South America, and you live in freaking Chicago, and in 3/4 of the year it's cloudy and rainy and snowy, like, you're going to be having breakdowns. You're going to have more depression. Your immune system is going to be weaker. You're going to get sicker. People that have dark colored skin need to have a lot more vitamin D. In fact, our Green 85 formula is so perfect. It's based in system science. Ayurvedic Dr. Scott Treadway, our master formulator, the formula is awesome. You've had it, right?
Oh yeah.
So we added I put vitamin D3 in it a couple years ago. I just put some in because I knew people needed it. I didn't raise the price or nothing. I just wanted to make sure people. So you get 1,000 international units per scoop. Now, people in the know are taking 4,000 or 5,000. That's what you'll hear most of the sages, gurus, or these experts, so-called experts, on saying 4,000 to 5,000, right, a day is what you want to take. Well, that's great. And I totally recommend that people do that. But if they don't do it, you're just missing out on something that's so simple and so profound that can boost your immune system and handle. It's very, like I said, it's antimicrobial. And
it's one of those things where and you're familiar with the term, the polymorphisms. Like, if you and I took both 5,000 IUs, I'm going to absorb it differently if I'm more deficient in vitamin D than you would. So it's like everybody's. I mean, granted, you could take as much as I think the recommended daily allowance, but everybody is deprived or deficient in vitamin D differently, so your body's going to absorb it differently. But again, it's still a powerhouse, like you said. I'm not saying don't take it, but we're deficient in different levels of all kinds of stuff, not only just vitamin D.
And we actually as of about 3 days ago, we have the solution for that. So I was showing you this earlier because this whole COVID thing, I thought it was going to blow over quicker, and it did, and it just kept going on and on and on. But what was the anytime I look at something, Jeffrey, I'm like, where's the benefit for me? Even if something AKA or so-called bad in my life happens. I just had a guy today. He was like, oh, man, I raised my kids all wrong. I spoiled them. And now, like, his daughter was, he said, behaving like, somebody else in his life. And it's just, he's miserable. Right. And I was just like, dude, you got to stay you got to be in the eye of the storm, man. And I said, you can't change anybody else, but only thing you can change is how you respond to those situations.
Yeah.
And when those situations come up again, that's the universe basically giving you one more opportunity to show you what's happening and give you the ability to respond differently. Because if you respond the same way that you did a moment ago, then your life hasn't changed and nothing's changed. But if you respond differently to the situation, it's changed. It's just that simple. And then a lot of times when you change how you act and how you respond, the world will start reflecting that, and then people will start responding differently to you. And quite often, very quickly. Now, they might not, maybe never, but it doesn't matter because you only get the benefit from it from you, right?
Yeah.
So back to this vitamin D thing. So a lot of people have learned that things like vitamin C are good for immunity, right? Vitamin C and calcium are two of them, or magnesium. These are some of the most sold supplements on the planet. Unfortunately, people are getting crappy sources, and even if they do get a good source, then there's other ingredients that they put in, like binders, fillers, and flow agents that are toxic. So people also learned about vitamin D3, and then people learned about zinc as well, didn't they?
Yeah, without a doubt.
The ability to get zinc, and they also learned about quercetin. Quercetin's ability to transport that zinc into the cell, and then the virus gets into the cell, and then the zinc stops the virus from being able to replicate and uncoil. So there's all these things, right? So what we did was we took vitamin A, which is a powerhouse, and people can go look this up. 400,000 international units of vitamin A, palminate, taken just for a few days. It's wiped out measles. I mean, it just knocks it out. And so would vitamin C, vitamin D3, and zinc. But there's papers on it, man. High-dose vitamin A just knocks it out. And if you go back in history and look at the measles, at the year 1900, 14 out of 100,000 people were dying of the measles. It's a lot.
That is a lot.
People were getting sick. By mid-40s, 98% of all measles was gone. 98% was gone by mid-40s. The measles vaccine hit the scene in 1963. So was it Big Pharma that saved us from the measles? No. It was the working class women's movement that said enough to slave wages. They said enough to child labor in these factories. And they got tired of seeing urine and feces and walking around in the crap in the streets. And there was dead horses and cows in the water supply. Those women got the plumber and the sanitation worker, and they fought for better wages, and they got the children out of the workforce. They got the 8-hour workday. They got better pay. They got safer working conditions because people used to get hurt and die in these factories.
For sure.
They got safer working conditions, and they cleaned up the urine and the feces with the plumber and the sanitation worker, and they got the dead horses and cows out of the water system. What those women did and fought for is they built infrastructure. Again, if you go out in the woods and poop, not a big deal. But because it'll recycle itself. But if there's 100,000 of you in a concentrated area on concrete and asphalt, and you're all pooping, that's going to be a problem.
A little different, yeah.
So you need infrastructure to clean up that mess and deal with it, to transport it out. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So
infrastructure is the most important thing for public health. Period. Right? And part of that was vitamin A. Right? Vitamin A. So what we finally did was, man, because I was getting blasted, like it was actually taking up a lot of my time. Clients would call, and I'm very gracious with my time, and I would talk to people, and they're like, Tim, where do I get the best vitamin C? Where do I get the best vitamin D3? Where do I get zinc? And I was sending people all over the place to different places because I do all this research as a coach. And I say we have a little bit of vitamin D in the green 85. Tons of vitamin A in green 85 because vitamin A actually comes from green leafy vegetables. There's zinc in here too. But wasn't exactly the amounts that people were looking for, right? Except for maybe the vitamin A. And D was close. So we finally built a product called V-Stack. It's called the Daily V-Stack. And what I did is we put the vitamin A in there, vitamin C from camu berry, vitamin D3 from lichen, actually, which is the most powerful source, zinc, and we chelated those with it's called Krebs zinc. So we chelated them with plant aminos so they're more absorbable to a carbon-based body like ours. Quercetin's in there, and we did a whole fulvic humic acid profile. So it's all every mineral in the elemental chart. So it's like basically a mineral formula. So what we did was we have 6 formulas in one, and how we were able to do it and get it all in a 2-ounce bottle was we used that same proprietary absorption system that we did with the turmeric product that made our turmeric product like, beyond all anti-inflammatories. So that product is now available, and that people are getting, the equivalent of, 10,000 IUs of vitamin A, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, 1,000 milligrams of zinc. Or not zinc, but the vitamin C. It's the equivalent, because this process, we were talking about this earlier. You were saying, what's the big problem that everybody has? People have digestion and absorption issues. Their digestive tract is gummed up. It's not working properly. It needs cleaned up. It needs recolonized with bacteria. And then that's going to help start getting more nutrients into the bloodstream. But the big problem is that on the cellular level, people are dehydrated. So the cell's dehydrated, doesn't accept nutrients as well when the cell's dehydrated. They have a poor fat membrane around, or it's called a lipid membrane around the cell, so they can't take nutrients in. And they have cellular inflammation. There's literally inflammation on everybody's cells. So if you have arthritis and backaches and you're tired and stuff, your cells are inflamed. Period.
Well, and that's leading me into one of my last questions, and you just brought up turmeric, which I take all the time, and it's a huge anti-inflammatory. But if you can address how inflammation obviously develops in everybody's body differently, and how it manifests differently. For you, my inflammation might manifest to XYZ. Yours might be different just because obviously we're just different body types and different physiology and biology. But inflammation, man, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, it could show itself different people in different ways. But the bottom line is, Jeffrey, is everybody has inflammation on a cellular level. As soon as your bare feet break contact with Mother Earth, inflammation begins, because you're unplugging from one of your natural power sources, like literally. It's called grounding or earthing.
Yeah.
People can look into that. But anyway, the whole point is that that formula, that VStack formula, it's literally 6 products in one. And I built it for myself because I wanted to boost my immune system. But we just came out with it, and it simplifies everything, because people are spending, like I said, $120 to $400 a month, and now they can get everything way better and get it into the cell way better. For like under $80.
Wow.
So I think it's a public service. Our clients are loving it already. We just launched it. It's awesome. I've been taking it in our mushroom product, and I can honestly say it's bumped up my health a few levels, which is hard to do nowadays because I've been working on it for so long.
Firing on so many cylinders. Well, brother, I'm so thankful for your time, and I have to just ask you about this, and we've talked about this before. You had mentioned, even in this interview, you have to reset how you think, your habits. And I think we always talk about mind, body, spirit. I think it begins, and you could change the order if you want to: spirit, mind, spirit. And a part of your reset, if you will, because I think we've talked about it and you kind of went through it. And this isn't a part of Tim's therapy or whatever. This is something he chose to do whatever it was, whatever you were trying to address. You did an ayahuasca ceremony. And your story behind that, I mean, you didn't see me, but it had your boy choked up here, because it was heavy, because it really begins to remove a lot of things that you were talking about, just past stuff. It's not necessarily you don't have to be necessarily molested or coming from abuse, etc. We all have kind of spiritual voids in our life from our upbringing. And if you don't mind getting into why you did that and what it did for you as far as your mental and spiritual reset.
Yeah, well, first off, anything that you can accomplish through ayahuasca or mushrooms can be accomplished through meditation. You don't need ayahuasca. You don't need to do mushrooms to do this. And there's lots of people doing these things.
Right.
I didn't really know that at the time. My formulator did, Dr. Treadway. He meditates an hour, 2 hours a day, every day. He's yoga every day. I mean, he's in his 70s. He looks like he's 35. Okay, he's a good example. But what he said ayahuasca and mushrooms are kind of like taking crowbars to the pineal gland. It just kind of cracks you open and opens up that gateway to your higher mind. That's what it is. But he said it's a little rough on the body. And somebody else that I follow said that it can be good if it's not abused.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Because of what Dr. Treadway was saying, it's like a crowbar, right? And if you do it like what I did, where you do ayahuasca and you open up that portal, you now get to experience the vibrational frequency of that feeling. Now that you have the feeling of it, you can actually tap back into it without it if you work on it hard enough or allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So you get to experience that frequency, what it feels like. It's just like hearing a song.
Interesting.
You don't know what it's like till you hear it. Then you hear it like, oh, now I can kind of sing along, right? So my experience for me was like I was adopted at birth. I was giving up. I was born and out the door I went. I never laid on my mom's chest. I never breastfed. I never got those necessary antibodies and all that stuff that you get from the mother's breast milk. So what I wanted to do was, reconnect with my mom and that experience. That was actually one of my major focal points. And during that process, that happened. I was in fetal position lying there. I was a fetus again. I was in the womb. And then later on in that practice, one of the shamans came over and she was blowing this mapacho stuff over my shoulders and stuff. And for some reason, she was like a, kind of a heavier woman. She had large breasts. And I just kind of just laid my head on her breast. And then she just like caressed my head and was just talking to me. And dude, like I can't even explain like how much tears of joy I had and how blissed out I was. It was like one of the most happiest times literally in my life when that happened. So I got to actually, by going through that ayahuasca experience and the people there and the shamans there and the container that was created for me, I was actually able to recreate that experience with my mom, giving up at childbirth and just be grateful for, I have a great relationship with my mom. I was just down there for Easter, and my biological mom, even though I was adopted and I have my parents that raised me, I have a good relationship now. I met her when I was 21. We have a good relationship. So
do you feel that was there a void that you felt? I mean, I don't know did you go in there trying to fill that void, or did that just manifest through the experience?
I don't know if it was more of a void. Maybe that might be a good term for it, but it was just I didn't remember it. And I just knew that I needed I felt like it logically, when a baby is ripped away from its mother, just like those baby cows are for the dairy industry, there's tremendous trauma there. And I wanted to go back to that and heal that trauma. I knew it was there, and that's exactly what I did. And I got so many other benefits from it.
That's cool, man.
Rekindled because for 5.5 years, I worked my tail off with this company, and I was barely hanging on, because I didn't know about marketing. I wasn't an online guy. And it kind of reinvigorated me to tell people that, water is sacred and plants heal. And, and I got and I saw this golden orb in this white, huge building that was like a huge marble building. It was white with these columns that were going up, and there was this golden orb in the middle of it, and I, for some reason, identified that as my power, and I came out of that ayahuasca experience completely reinvigorated, excited about life. I knew it was very clear, and my business from that point,
wow,
absolutely blasted off. And I've been working on my spiritual practice a lot since then too, and it's
interesting.
It was a great experience, and I might do ayahuasca again, but I might do it like one more time.
Yeah.
But again, for me, I'm really focusing on, and actually I have some medicinal mushrooms that somebody made me that are gourmet, like vegan chocolate type stuff. And I'm probably going to try that at least once.
Well, again, like you said, and I think that's very powerful because, like you said, you don't want to abuse these kind of, in my opinion, therapeutics. They're sufficient, but not necessary for these kind of spiritual resets. And I'm sure you're familiar with Ram Dass. I forget what documentary it was, Fierce Grace, I think it was, where he was talking about his guru. And he's like, what's this? His guru was basically like, what's this acid you keep talking about? And he basically ate a shit ton. And he's like, he didn't change at all because he just stayed through, like you said, meditation and spiritual practices. He stays in that world, if you have whatever that world is. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you don't necessarily have to go for these external means to receive that kind of gift of like spiritual reset, but it seems to be helping, and I'm noticing it's being used more and more with therapy. Psilocybin's being used for therapy, absolutely. PTSD, addiction, etc. So I just wanted to
microdosing can be a very powerful thing, but doing the heavy loads and stuff like that, again, just be gentle on yourself. This isn't like, hey, let's go have some fun, take some shrooms and get wasted.
No,
that's not what it should be used for. It's like, oh, I'm very mindful. This is what I want to accomplish. I'm working on my spiritual practice. I want to feel that vibrational frequency, and that's it. So.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I just wanted to have you touch on that because I thought it was really powerful when you said it. And I think a lot of the root of your overall health starts with, I think, mental and spiritual health, and everything kind of trickles down from there. So, brother, I am so thankful to catch up with you, man. You know, Health Hero Show, check it out. It's on YouTube, anywhere you can find podcasts, chemicalfreebody.com. It's me, promo code It's Me for any discounts. I mean, there's so much more stuff there than what we talked about. Like Tim said, he's introduced some new products. Go over there and check it out, man. And seriously, sit under this learning tree over at the Health Hero Show, because this is just scratching the surface. And again, health is wealth, man. I mean, we only got one time around here, and it's like you can't be putting freaking sugar water in the Formula One car and expect it to perform well. So treat yourself well. You deserve it. You're worth it. And Tim, any other shout outs, any other social network, anything you want to throw out there before I let you go, brother?
No, I mean, that's about it. If people want to find us, just, go to the website at chemicalfreebody.com. And like you said, there's a lot of free information on the show. We've got over 100 episodes in the show. That's cool. And if they want products, I always tell people go to the products tab, go to savings bundles, and start with the bundle. That way you can save some money, and then put that, your code in.
It's me. No apostrophe. It's me.
Yeah, it's me at checkout and get an additional 5% off. That way they can get a double discount. And do look for our new products. We have the V-Stack product is out. We also have air purifiers and saunas now under the all products tab. So
really?
Eventually it's going to be a place. My goal is that Chemical Free Body is a place where people can come and have a chemical free life, where
Nice.
we give them the instructions and the tools. They can go clean up their body on a cellular level, clean up their gut, clean up their air in their home, sauna, clean up their water. We want to have all the good products that I've personally vetted. Like my bed, dude, the bed's not up there, but we'll have it up there soon. I did over a year's worth of research on beds. I was about ready to pull the trigger, and then I found one more, and I was very glad I did, because I think I have the best bed in the world, and it was $8,000 less money too. So
wow, yes.
I mean, the bed I was going to drop on, dude, was $13,800.
Whoa.
And I got this one for like $5,500. So I was very happy about that. And I think I know I have a much better quality mattress. And there's some tech in this mattress that the other ones they can't even sniff. So I'm very excited.
Well, and again, the mattress obviously helps facilitate better sleep. And as you mentioned before, sleep is hugely important.
Number 3 on the list over here, man.
Brother Tim James, man, he is a health and wellness alchemist, dude. When I say that, that means he's transforming people's lives, dude. And that not a lot of people can say that, brother. You are definitely doing.
Well, we don't actually do that. We help people transform their own lives.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, that is true. That is so true. You point them in the right direction.
Correct here. I can't heal nobody. We can't. You have to do the work.
That's true.
And I'm just doing the work on myself, and then I geek out and share what worked for me, and it could possibly work for you, because everybody's different. But up the middle, most of the stuff I do, over 95% of it works really well for folks.
Well, it is the Health Hero podcast. Each one, teach one is something that he has been doing, and helping people, pointing them in the right direction to transform their lives. Like you said, you got to do the work, but health is wealth, ladies and gentlemen. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. ChemicalFreeBody.com. Promo code It's Me for discounts. Peace and so much love, Tim. It's good to catch up with you, brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, respect.